Oh my god. Ow. Hey everyone. Yeah, I don't know why I started with that. At least I wasn't clearing my throat. A few people are going to say something about it either way. What am I doing? Oh yeah. So, I'm still away. I'll be flying out of Greece on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday morning. So I've been in the village for the last, I think since Tuesday. And yeah, I'm actually out on location, which you can probably tell by the ambiance. Ambiance. No, seriously. I came to the one place where I figured it would probably be quiet, and that's the cemetery. So there's a cemetery in my village. It's nothing like, the Springvale Botanical or anything like that. It's literally, I don't know. Fuck, I couldn't even guesstimate. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know. 60 people buried here. 60 to 100, if that. I don't know, my maths is shit. My brain's gone to rot. I've done nothing for 2 weeks. Drink coffee and eat. Nevertheless, I'm hoping that the audio turns out okay on this one. I figure it should. Irony being, I thought I'd come to one place that was going to be quiet, and I got here and there was already an old bloke cleaning up, because today's obviously Easter Saturday, so a lot of people, they've usually done it by now, but usually on Easter, Good Friday, they're coming down here to pay their respects, leave flowers, all that sort of thing. Typically, yeah, every time I've come to the village, I've always gone to the cemetery. It's actually a really nice walk. It's about a K, I think, from the main center of the village. I don't know. Yeah, Greeks, Italians, other wogs, typically, when you tell them, when you talk about your village in Greece, they know what it is. Anyone outside of that has got no idea what it's like. They think it's like Bendigo or Ballarat or something. No, those are cities in Greece. This village in particular, my mum's village, used to be at its peak, must have had maybe 1,000 people, I think in the 50s or 60s. When I'd come here in 98, it was probably still pretty big. There must have been over 500-600 people actively living here. And now there's less than 300, probably between 200 to 300 active occupants. And it's a village. It's up in the Stymphalian region, like pretty much in between, if you know your Greek mythology, because everyone does, because Disney has turned everything into a movie. You've got, if you know the 12 tasks of Hercules, 2 of those tasks were taking out the Nemenian lion, and the other one was taking out the Stymphalian birds, which are like these hawk-type sort of things. Birds. But with they had iron talons and claws and stuff. Was it iron or steel? I can't remember. Or copper. Anyway, my mum's village sits pretty much in between those 2 points. So the village itself has been in a pretty pivotal part of Greek mythology and historical context. Anyway, I like coming here. I actually like coming to the village. Up until maybe 10 years ago, there was no internet. And your phone, unless you were on like the Telstra equivalent, you would never get phone reception here, ever. I remember when I got here in 09, 10, I bought a SIM card because I knew I was going to be in Europe for a while. So I bought a local SIM card. And, I got to the village, there was no connection. And everyone's like, I'm making the complaints. And everyone's like, well, what card have you got? And I'm like, oh, this one. I'm like, yeah, that's crap. Actually, the cemetery backs onto the one road leading out of this place, so there might be some background trucks. I got no idea. But I'm not expecting too many people here. Anyway, I came here because, I'm leaving over the next, probably going to leave tomorrow, Arvo, to go back to Athens, so I can get myself sorted before I leave. But I came here because, one, obviously to just, visit my relatives. It's really strange. I've got my grandmother, grandfather, and my uncle, who passed away like 2 years ago, a couple of weeks before I got here. They're in a family plot. But I didn't realize, or maybe I've just neglected to realize, but in the same plot, my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother are both buried there as well. And then 50% of this cemetery is made up of people related to me. All got the same family name. The family name itself is common in this area because they just, like, this whole village was like a stronghold for the family, like the bloodline. They all came from like pre-Civil War, during, no, not Civil War. Civil Wars happen every day here. No, pre-1825, when the uprising against the Ottomans started, the War of Independence, in and around that. See, this is how stupid Greeks are. They'll start fights amongst themselves. Like, they'll put civil wars on hold to fight an enemy intruder or occupier. But then they'll stop, like, they stopped an uprising. Jesus Christ. So 400 years, Greece was under Ottoman rule. And in 1825, March 25th, 1825, they started, no, not 1825. Am I getting the years wrong? 1825? Why am I saying 1825? Because they would have made it 400 years. No, it's not right. It was 1821. Because I remember we had the 200 years or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, it's 1821. It's definitely 1821. Yes. 1821, March 25th, was the start of the rebellion, the war for independence against the Ottomans. But these idiot Greeks, if you actually check, just look up, War of Independence, yada, 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 1821, again with the 1825. 1821, if you look at the timeline on Wikipedia, like if you just read it, it's hilarious because they start the uprising, they get like a few wins, against the occupiers. And then little spontaneous like civil wars break out. So it's like, oh yeah, let's take a day off from fighting Turks. Let's just fight each other. It's so ridiculous. They're fucking stupid. Anyway, so in that era, someone's decided to join us. I have no idea what the hell that was. In that era, my lineage had descended. This is all coming from my uncle, my mum's brother. The lineage had descended from the Mavromichailei, which were like a military family, one of the prominent military families like Papa Flesas and all them. And they had they were involved in some sort of thing, some mutiny or something, I don't know, or committed some, good. See, there's no way I would have been able to avoid that freaking bell because there's 3 churches in the village alone. This village has got less than 300 occupants and there's 3 churches. They had nothing else to spend their money on. It's ridiculous. And there's one actually just down past the cemetery. It's like another 500 meters. It's called Dios Dimitrios, named after my patron saint and one of the main families in the area, Papa Dimitriou, which was nice. I actually got to go there when it was my patron saint's feast day in 98 when I'd come. And that was like October 26, 98. And that was nice because my grandfather was still alive. That was about 10 years before he passed away. So I'm named after him. And I got 2 other cousins, obviously from this area that are named after him as well. So 3 out of 4 cousins named after him were all there for it. So which is pretty cool. Anyway, I'm getting freaking sidetracked. What was I even saying? What was I saying? I got no idea. Oh yeah, the family bloodline. So yeah, they committed some mutiny or some shit like that, and then escaped or moved from that part of Sparta. The Mavromichailei were direct descendants from the original Spartans, apparently, and they moved from there to this region up in the hills because Sparta isn't exactly hilly, but this area is. So this village, like I said, is located in between those 2 pinpoints, but the area itself, I'll put some photos up online just for context, but it's just surrounded by mountains. We're about 900 meters up above sea level, I think. I asked my nephew the other day. I think that's what he said. I can't remember. But the village itself is lower than the surrounding mountains, so it's sort of like tucked in between. And then they changed the name to a prominent local one, so they would blend in and assimilate, so they wouldn't be found or persecuted for war crimes or whatever the hell it was. I got no idea. Should read into it. Maybe I haven't. I've just forgotten. Either which way, this cemetery is mostly filled with people of my family name, and it's surreal. Another reason why I came here was because my nephew asked the other day if there was ever a Leonidas, such and such. And his parents are like, I don't know. Why? It's like, because he met someone in Athens or something with the same name. And he figured the kid was about 22, 23, so it was named after his grandfather, as is the custom. And everyone's like, oh, I've got no idea. I don't think we've ever had anyone like that named around here. And I said, well, maybe why don't we go down to the cemetery and just have a look at the plots and see if the guy pops up. So I'm down here just to do a rendezvous. Not a rendezvous. What's the word? Do a reconnaissance. I'm on a Rico mission, sussing out to see if there's a dead man in here called Leonidas. Makes no sense. Anyway, it's getting actually uncomfortable to sit out. I did my back. Everyone's attributing it to me working the last couple of days. So my cousin here is a distributor, and he basically runs, he sells booze, soft drinks, I think some dry goods. I can't remember. I haven't seen much of it. I think they go door to door, those ones specifically. But no, from his warehouse, he's got booze, soft drinks, some from fruit juice, water, things like that, and he distributes them. So he's got like 2 vans, a truck, and he loads them up. And his 17-year-old son does deliveries when he's obviously not at school or whatever. And he's got like a Pakistani guy who's been here 10 years who helps him out as well, as is the custom. So every time I've come to Greece, my cousin, this cousin specifically, he will run himself ragged basically from 7 a.m. till 9, 10 p.m. He's working constantly. And he does a lot of shit. So he's like, runs a central shop in the village, which is not much chop to it. It's just coffees and small goods. And then, he'll run deliveries to other villages up as far as the biggest towns closest to here, near Corinth. But basically, the only way I'd ever get to spend time with him was if I actually went with him on these runs. He also does equipment hire too. I know he had chairs at one point. I haven't seen him in this warehouse. Maybe he's moved them. Maybe he stopped doing them. I actually should ask him. Which is funny because I worked in event hire for 5 years, 6 years, or however long it was. And now he's a distributor. And obviously I've worked in logistics and distribution for nearly 20 years, which is pretty funny. But it's been funny because, since 98, when I've been coming here, I've been going with my cousin on the road, and he's probably in his mid-50s now. And mid-50s, early 50s. I wouldn't put him past there. And now I'm on the road with his son, who's 17, and driving without a license. But it's cool, But yeah, working with him for the last 3 days, it's so inefficient. Like, I keep questioning him, like, why the hell aren't we doing? I mean, obviously I've been a logistics manager, so my whole thing is about, logistics is about efficiency over everything, making sure you're on point. Your costs, your overheads are down, running costs are down. You're making the most out of cartage and things like that. These people just cater to everything. So you've got a village 22 kilometers away, so maybe half an hour drive, 35-minute drive away, and they'll order, 30 bottles of 6 by 6 litre, 30 packs of 6 by 1 bottles of water or whatever. But then they'll order something else like 2 hours later. So you're forced to do these double runs. It's like, what are you doing? Why are we spending this much time on the road? It's like, what are you going to do? What if they go to someone else? I'm like, who cares? Who are they going to go to? There's no one here. There's literally no one here. I go, if you make the most out of your transportation costs, I go, you consolidate everything, your running costs are cheaper, which means you can probably sell the product for cheaper, meaning you retain the customer. Like, what part of this do you not understand? And my nephew's like, you guys, I get that. You try telling your cousin, because he doesn't listen to me. I go, this is a joke. I suggested to my nephew yesterday, I said, we've done this run twice today, back out to this town. Why don't you guys, during the summer at least, 6 months, you can surely get a 6-month lease on like a warehouse. You can get a 6-month lease on a warehouse, dump it just outside the town, put someone in there, whoever it is, put another cousin in, put a nephew in there that's younger than you, whatever. Go, call me. I'll come down for 6 months and run it. Okay, that way you're literally just outside of the town. You store half your material there, and that way you can just go. It's literally a ute run. It's not a minivan or a truck run from 30 k's away. It's literally 5 minutes down the road. Yeah, surely your overhead costs would cover it, and you've optimized everything and consolidated everything. Yeah, we thought about it, but when you start hiring personnel, then it gets messy. I'm like, yeah, but then you clowns are running around legless till midnight every day, driving back and forth. I go, what about the fuel costs, maintenance costs? The van we were in, it's like a diesel minivan. It had like 600,000 Ks on it, like literally. Are you serious? The hell was that? For context, you can probably hear the birds singing. I mean, it's spring here. It's been blue skies the entire time I've been here. You've seen patches of clouds and everyone's like, oh, it's cold. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's perfect. The weather's literally been perfect the entire time I've been here. It's just complaints and excuses. Literally, it's, what is it? Literally complaints and excuses. That's been my running theme with every conversation I've had with the Greeks, and they're all laughing. Like, you've nailed it. I'm like, of course I have. You're not that hard to figure out. We're simple people. All they do is eat, drink, fuck, smoke, complain, repeat, and litter. Yeah, littering's a priority. I noticed it in 98. I've mentioned it every single time I've come back here. It's freaking disgusting. This cemetery, my nephew said that they're not putting any more plots. They've pretty much exhausted it. But then, like the base of the hill where all these sort of Christmas pine trees are, you've just got garbage. If you got rid of the garbage, you'd probably squeeze another 50, 60 people in here. Ugh, I better adjust. My back's absolutely murdered. Oh, that was the whole point of talking about this. You know what? I can't sit on this. I can't sit on this sloping fence. You get all these marble grave sites. Okay, so here's a priest. It's in German? Why is it in German? Frieden. What the? So it's a priest's grave. It's probably the biggest one here for one person. Doesn't seem to be indicating that there's anyone else buried here. It's a picture of a priest. And there's a German book. Maybe they thought they were being fancy. I don't know. No, I don't think you'll mind if I just take a knee here because my back's murdering. So the big joke was that when I started, when I got here, obviously, I started moving around and seeing everyone. And, oh my God. Actually, just, what the hell? Why is this headstone backwards? God knows. Anyway, moving along. The big joke was that everyone's like, oh, you wouldn't have worked this hard in Melbourne. You wouldn't know this kind of work. And I'm like, are you people for real? We're handling 1,000 items in a day. You've got about 30 codes of product in a warehouse. Like, I didn't say it like that. Obviously not to, be disrespectful or whatever, or make light of their sort of hustle. But it's just like, dude, I've worked in some of the biggest distribution centers in Australia. I've worked since I was 14. Okay, you people here, like I was talking to my niece. So a couple of days when I got here it was Wednesday because I got here on Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, my nephew had tutoring. Everyone here goes to tutoring because their education system is up the arse and they typically don't learn anything at school. So one hustle that the government's got going is that everyone, fees are nothing, but everyone needs to go to private tutors after school for everything basically. And my nephew had a tutoring class for 2 hours, two different subjects. So my niece and I, who's about 19, we went for coffee because it was in the same town. So I said, we'll go for coffee. I'm sitting there talking to her about, what she's doing. She's currently living outside. Obviously, kids leave the village because there's nothing to do here. They can't get a uni or high school or anything. There's a primary school here at best. But if you want to go to high school and advanced education, you've got to get out of here. So she's moved, I'm not sure exactly how far away. I think it's like an hour. No, it's more than that. She said it was like 2-3 hours away. But she's moved there, and my cousin's paying for her rent. And I asked her, I said, so are you working at all? Or what do you do? She goes, nah. She goes, we don't work. And it's the running joke that Greeks in Greece are students till their 30s and 40s. They just milk it, absolutely milk it, and sponge off like, the other generations. And if there's any government assistance at all, which is highly unlikely. But they've got to concentrate on being students, Like they can't be expected to work. And I'm like, mate, we start working from like 14 and 9 months in Australia. There isn't a kid who doesn't have an after-school job during high school. Everyone worked at Red Rooter or Macca's or like, whatever. Even at the chemist, just doing deliveries on a pushy, or delivering leaflets or whatever it is. We've all done it. But these Greeks yet don't do it. So these kids leave high school at 18, 19, go to uni, and have never worked a day in their lives unless they've been in the villages and they've joined in on the family trade. So in the village, I've got 2 cousins, that are in their sort of early 50s. And one runs, the shop and distribution, all that sort of stuff. And the other one is agriculture. So he's taken over his old man's plots of land with, goats and things like that. And he's got 2 sons. I think one's 16, 17. The other one's probably about 15. And you wouldn't know it. They're like grown men. And that's the thing. If they're from the village and they've jumped in on the family trade, they grow up fast. Like, I don't know why I'm whispering. There's no one here. I've sort of lost my voice a bit just because I've been talking a lot and sitting in rooms filled with smoke. But yeah. It's strange. Anyway. Yeah, they jump in on the family trade fast, so they grow up quick. And yeah, so I've got, 3 nephews in the village, 2 in agriculture, 1 at the shop and distribution. And you talk to them and you would never know they were, between the ages of 15 and 17. They are literally like grown men. Like it's scary. It's absolutely scary. You compare them to the coddled milksop, wet blanket kids that we raise in Australia that don't know how to take a loss in a game of kickball. You compare them to like my nephews here that are running around on motorbikes and driving cars like grown men. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. And this is here where it's not even like a war zone. That's why you see these kids coming from the Balkans or, the former Soviet bloc. They're just hardened by the time they're 13. Just context. Yeah, I swear to God, you could send some kids from Sandringham like here and they would crumble within four hours, realizing that you can't flush toilet paper. You got to wipe your ass and throw it in a bin because the plumbing's shit. No one believes it. Anyway, it's pretty funny with my nephew. Just spending time with him, kicking back, driving all over the place, doing deliveries and stuff. I've been calling him the boss for the last couple of years, probably since the last time I came here, or maybe the time before that. Time before that, it was 2014, so he was still young. No, it was the last time I was here. I started calling him the boss, or the big man, or the boss. And every time I see him, even if we're doing a drop off somewhere, someone will ask me something. I'm like, don't ask me, ask the boss. I go, I'm just a worker. But it's been good just with him. He's got his L's pretty much. He's got his L's because even some of the deliveries that we were doing, they'd see him and say, you're doing the deliveries now. It's like, do you have your license? Like, yeah, I got my license. He's turning 18 in August, but he's got his L's. And he said, as long as I got someone that's had 3 years driving experience, license next to me, I'm fine. I'm like, I don't have a license. He goes, yeah, you do. He goes, no one's going to ask you. And we're sitting there pushing this van, doing 100K down these stupid slopes. It's hilarious. We said, if anything actually happened and cops pulled us up for whatever reason, I said to him that we'd be Albanians or something. Neither of us would speak English. And we just kept going. But it's so haphazard here. They don't give a shit. But yeah, it's been pretty funny. I was meant to do a podcast last week. I just didn't have enough time. I've been running around. When I was in Athens, I did a lot of running around every day, just trying to visit people, see people. I had a few work things to do as well, some personal things to sort out as well. maybe I'll leave them for stories for the pod with either the low-hanging fruit or the midweek rub. I did get one victory, though, which is really significant, which is hilarious, but I'll explain that when I'm with the boys, I guess. My back. You know, one thing that did trip me out was I was with my cousin. We were just going for a cruise. So we'd gone out one night. It would have been Monday night, actually. Yeah, it was Monday night. What am I talking about? It wasn't that long ago. Monday night, we went out to get something to eat. We've turned up to this Tsipouradika. Tsipouradika is like a moonshine, distilled wine sort of that they make. It's just like pure opium. It's like grappa if you know your Italian spirits as well. It's like pure booze. It just ruins you. And Tsipouradika are typically like little traditional sort of bars, restaurants, like taverns, little mini taverns, but more like a bar setup where you can order food, and a lot of the food is really, really traditional shit. You know, like your dips and your broad beans and shit like that. And they play like traditional sort of Greek music that you'd hear in old school dives or villages. It's become a real big thing ever since the crisis and the economic crisis and the recession and the COVID era, because a lot of youngsters, especially students and things like that, typically haven't got that much money. They've sort of abandoned that whole let's buy 1,000 bottles at the club and try and flex to going back to that sort of shit, just sitting around smoking and eating, which is hilarious too. I've forgotten what it's like to sit down and have a meal and someone sparks up a dart right next to you indoors. People are trying to eat, but it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh, what happened? I bring it up. I'm like, seriously? Is it really necessary? It's like, what's the big deal? They don't see it. They'll never get it. Secondhand smoke is a myth. Oh my God. It's just an old wives' tale. Really, it's a conspiracy. Secondhand smoke. Actually, there's a gravestone. Okay, so there's no headstone in that grave thing. I'm just sitting here still. I'm just looking around, just glancing. There's a gravestone there. I'm pretty sure I recognize that bloke. I've got no idea who he is, though. I don't know. If I brought my mummy, she'd probably be able to point out most of these people. Again, there's another one. That's got a family photo. It's black and white. It's a huge freaking tomb thing with my family name on it. Jesus, this is surreal. Anyway, so I keep getting sidetracked. Jesus Christ. My concentration span has gone to shit. I'm telling you. It's all the coffees and the smokes. I actually stopped smoking. So when I got here on the Friday, I went out that Friday night, Saturday night, and by Sunday I'd probably smoked equivalent of 2 packets of darts. And I don't smoke. I was gone. Like, no, this can't keep happening. I'm done. And then so I stopped. I'm still recovering. It's got to be that. My brain's gone to mush. Anyway, so I'm with my cousin. We've turned up to this Tsipouradika restaurant for a quick bite. It must have been 11:30 when we rocked up, and we had to wait for a table. I'm like, it's Monday night, man. It's not Friday night. Look, what the hell's going on? The place was packed. We ended up leaving there at 1, I think, 1-ish. We ate. We had something to drink. We ate. We left. And we just went for a cruise. So we've just gone through, we went up to the top, one of the lookout points in Athens, one of the highest peaks. Because Athens is a city that's surrounded by mountains, typically like my fucking village. Pretty much like everything in Greece. It's a town or a village surrounded by mountains. Unless you're coastal. Then you're, a coastal city or village surrounded by garbage. And yeah, so we went through a cruise through the suburbs and all that, saw the back end, saw where all the drug addicts and stuff hang out, saw some of the nicer areas. And while we're driving, You're the Voice, Johnny Farnham fires up. I'm like, what the hell? What are you listening to? He goes, oh yeah, he goes, I got some radio station or, some Bluetooth stream or something, typically of random music from the 80s and 90s. That cousin's pretty eclectic. He listens to a lot of crap even I wouldn't listen to. And and I'm like, mate, I go, Johnny Farnham is an icon because he's Australian. I go, he's the Australian. And then I remembered something I'd said years ago on the pod. I said, Johnny Farnham has never been involved in any scandals or had anyone besmirch his good name. I go, but you know why? I go, because he grew up in Yarraman, which is a suburb next to Noble Park. The main strip the main railway parade, like, you know, every suburb next to the railway line is like a railway parade or a railway road or some shit. It smells like weed 24/7. That's why Johnny Farnham's grounded. I ended up sending him a link to the Little River Band playing to win. Okay, here, just get this in your pipe. I've actually been rambling for a bit now, but I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't actually much more else to add about this trip other than I've now done my back, and while I've been sitting here, I got a message from a mate saying, well, you know, enjoy the 24-hour economy seated flight back to Melbourne. Like, yeah, just remembering I've got the worst transit in the world. I've got to be at the airport. I've got a 7 a.m. flight on Tuesday, meaning I've got to be at the airport by about 4-ish, meaning I've got to get up by about 3, which beckons the idea that should I even bother going to freaking sleep, because I'm averaging, when I'm in Athens, I'm going to sleep by about 2 o'clock. What's another hour? So originally I was going to leave the village by Monday with two of my cousins going back up to Athens. But I had a cousin come down from Athens. He called me up last night, and he said he's going to be leaving the village probably Sunday evening to escape the traffic and all that sort of thing. And he said, you know, do you want to come back with me? And I think I'm going to do it. Just get back to Athens by Monday morning, sort myself out. If anything, have a quick nap in the Arvo, so that way I can just stay awake and get on the plane. But then I've got like 6 or 7 hours transit in Abu Dhabi by myself, which is going to be a nightmare. But yeah, at least I've got a tablet with me. I've got 2 books. I'll make the most of it. Maybe I'll do another pod just for a laugh and then edit it on the plane. That might be an idea. Just walk around the airport. Yeah, I'll get this out by as soon as I'm done, basically. I'm going to finish this, go back up to the shop and sit down and just edit it. But yeah, let me know if you want a pod from the Abu Dhabi airport talking about absolutely nothing except about how my back hurts and I've got no money left. I can't bother going back to work. Jesus God. One interesting conversation I've had while I've been in Athens has been with a mate who's actually from Melbourne who flew up. I think I might have mentioned it in the last one. I can't remember. But he flew up without telling anyone at the end of Jan, start of Feb, and just kept postponing his flight, delaying his flight back. And then he found out I was coming, obviously, and how long I was coming for. So he just extended it out, basically, till Easter. And we were talking, because he's looking to stay here. He's looking to find work and stuff like that and try and work remotely. So work for an Aussie company or English company or German company or something like that, and just work remotely from Athens. So Greece is a great place to live if you're earning international money. So if you're earning local money, you're on a pittance. And just like as a point of reference, average rent in Athens, depending where you are, an average rent for something that isn't a hole in the ground, but might have a bedroom, you know, maybe 2 bedrooms, but you're in a further outer suburb than the centre, you're averaging between 600 to 800 euro a month. Your average electricity and water bill is going to come to about 100 euro a month. You're going to pay about 100 a month on insurance superannuation. So you're at $1,000. That's without food, without and without petrol or ciggies or anything, or any extracurricular activities. The average wage in Athens is about 700 to 800 euro a month. A good wage, like you're flying, sort of making good coin, like the equivalent of, you know, 1,800 a week in Melbourne sort of thing, is about 1,500 a month. Literally. So I've got like 2 cousins that have all left. They're all working. One's working in Italy. The other one's working in, I think it was Germany. I can't remember. But actually I was lucky enough for that kid from Italy to come back while I was in Athens and caught up with him. So he's working for like a tobacco company, British Tobacco or something like that. He's earning good coin. But there's no way he was ever going to be able to get that kind of money here in Athens. But yeah, so it's so depressing. The only way to actually basically live out on your own is to get married. It's the only way. You need to have 2 wages, otherwise you're fucked. My mate, who's looking to move here, is obviously looking for work. Obviously being, you know, speaking English is a very big plus here. because they can put you straight into their international sort of department, you know, and liaise. That's the one thing about Greece is the fact that you're in Europe, you know, so you're at the hub of everything. It's not like in Australia where your options are Australasia, New Zealand, and you know, Singapore or something. So while my mate's been looking for work and we've been talking about rent and, you know, suburbs to live in and quality of life and luxuries and stuff like that, we were talking about the metrics of success. And I said, and we actually got pretty deep. The one thing we were sort of discussing was, because one thing we did while we were here was go up to the Acropolis. As a Greek from Australia or whatever, you're always, you're not obligated to, but, you know, you're going to do it. You're going to walk up to the Parthenon and check out the view. It's always humbling. It's nice to go do. Oh, here we go. I could have been sitting here for an hour. How long have I been sitting here? Maybe 40 minutes? These Greeks, man, they're just racing against the clock. They just want to get it done. They want to get the resurrection of Christ out of the way nice and early so they can start eating. But yeah, we're talking about the metric of success, and that's the key thing that defines everyone. And like I said, it was a really deep conversation, but the one thing that we got from it is that everyone's metric of success is different. So, you know, some people find, you know, just a meal, like you go to a third world country, a meal and a roof over your head is success. Or, you know, the boys made fun of me about a year or two ago when I said that I'd done all this work in media trying to build myself up, and, you know, the culmination of all my work was Andy telling stories about OnlyFans engagement. And then, yeah, John had to throw it in at me. But, you know, the problem is that you live in a tall poppy society and all that sort of stuff where people are either envious of what you're doing or what you're not doing, or what you're doing is not what they're doing, or what they wish you were doing, or they didn't have the balls to be doing. All that sort of thing just comes back down to the metric of success. You know, for some people, life's pointless if you don't have kids. Oh, that's great, right? If you don't have money to feed those kids, or you haven't had any life experience to provide those kids with, you know, some form of education or real world knowledge or content, perspective, then what's the point of having kids? We're already overpopulated as it is, literally. We're just lucky that we've won the lottery of life, and we've grown up in Australia where we're pretty much unrivaled in terms of square meterage of occupancy to every citizen. You know, where you come to cities like Athens where they're literally building on buildings on buildings and just, you know, having these massive families in apartments the size of the one that I lived in Noble Park. What's the metric of success? You know, I've done a lot of traveling and I've thrown everything I have at it. And I basically live day to day, hand to mouth, minute to minute, but that's how I choose to live, because my metric of success is to be able to do everything I want to do and not just watch the train go by and then wonder if I've wasted my life or not making the most of opportunities. You can have regrets, but, you know, that's the thing. When people, I've had this conversation with a bunch of people, because like I've been saying here, it's always, you know, parapona and dikologia, it's always complaints and excuses. It's like, hang on, I've never complained about my life. I wish some things had gone differently. There are things that I wish would have worked better, all that sort of shit. I'm actually in pain. I'm wincing now. I'm taking deep breaths. I can't keep this run of speech up because I'm sort of gulping. Ugh, oh my God, that was a bee. And I just nearly killed myself swatting at it. But I'll get this final thought out before I completely collapse and end up getting buried next to my ancestors here. I've got to stand up. So, before I lose that train of thought, what was I saying? Yeah. I said, yeah, the whole thing of complaints and excuses, I have always wanted to travel. There's things I've wanted to do, all that sort of shit, and I've thrown everything in the kitchen sink at it to try and get it to make it happen. Yeah, I'm living day to day. Yeah, I'm living hand to mouth, but I've never complained about my life as it is of right now. I've complained about my life heaps, and I used to be just about complaining. We love complaining. We're Greeks. People love to complain. It's a comfort food because, you know, you want that empathy from other people. But who was it? It was George Costanza. People come to you. It's when that woman he was dating did her nut. And I'm actually starting to walk a bit now. Hopefully it sounds okay. But anyway, yeah, when George I'm surprised more women that George dated hadn't done their nut in the time that he was on during the show. Yeah, George was dating that woman who he broke up with. She did her nut and went into like a care facility. And then so George and Jerry went to visit her. And he said he envied the woman that was in there because you get to wear slippers all day. People come and visit you. They pity you. Again, that complaints and what's it called? Complaints and excuses. So yeah, about my life. Over the last, say, 5 years, despite all the shit that's happened to me, COVID and, you know, every other extenuating circumstance that's affected my day-to-day, I typically don't complain about my life. Even working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, I don't care. I actually like doing it. I like being active. I like sort of chasing, not even goals. It's not even goals anymore. It's just chasing shit. But, hey, there's someone else that I know. Fuck, that's weird. That is so surreal. If we go to Springvale Botanical, there are literally maybe 10 people, and they'd be stretching it. I couldn't name 10 people buried in there off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 pushing it. But I'm in a cemetery, 20,000 Ks away, 16,000 Ks away, whatever it is. I think it's 20,000. I got no idea. I should probably fact check that, but I'm not going to bother. But yeah, I'm recognising more names here than I've ever. Anyway, I can't get this final thought out. I've said it before, probably I've touched on it before on the pod, and I've just said that, I wish some things were a bit easier, or maybe, instead of being constantly being 90% behind the eight ball, I wish I was 110% above the eight ball, given all the work I'm doing, But other than that, I don't actually complain about my life. I have my friends, I have my interests, my hobbies, my leisurely pursuits. I have work. I can feed myself. I live where I want to live. I've got my car, my bike. I'm not talking about material possessions in particular, but I've come to a point where, yeah, I'm pretty content with all the shit going on. I know I'm building towards certain things. I have certain things I want to achieve, all that sort of shit. And that all pretty much came about from putting everyone else last, putting myself first, and making sure that I'm in a better place than I was yesterday. So that way I can operate at a better level and be of more value and of more use to everyone else around me. That's how you become a productive member of society. And that's when you fall into that whole Greek excuses and complaints department, when you realize your life's passed you by because you didn't make the most of certain things. You're worried about what other people got out of life coming from you, as opposed to you getting the most out of your own life and let everyone else chase their own shit as well. I'm not talking about pushing a kid in a wheelchair down a set of stairs, but I'm talking about letting family members in particular suck the living shit out of you. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular either. That's my one concern. The one thing that I'm always sort of on the lookout for are for people in my sort of circle of friends and network and all that sort of thing that put their shit on hold to make other people happy. I've said it before. As long as my people are happy, I'm happy. They can go get fucked. Those people can go sit at a bus stop and look at a mirror all day like a parrot. When you put a mirror in a bird cage, the bird thinks that it's got company, so it doesn't sing. Those are those people. They think they've got company, so they don't sing. Fuck off. Don't know why I'm getting angry all of a sudden. I should be pretty calm. I've just gotten rolled up because I'm thinking about people that piss me off. Anyway, I should probably cut it there because I'm just realizing this one recording has gone for 27 minutes and I've probably got another 30 minutes before that. And now I'm going to go back to a shop filled with cigarettes and people yelling. Jesus. The yelling. These Greeks don't stop yelling, man. I remember my mum said it to me in 2004. She'd gone to Greece for 3 months or so. It was probably the longest period she'd been away for. at that point. I was like 19 years old. And that's when I sort of grew up a lot. I just got my license, and being obviously without my mum for that long, I had to learn how to cook, and clean and do shopping and shit like that, to the full extent sort of stuff. Hang on, how come this guy's got like multiple gravestones? That doesn't make sense. You're telling me these old blokes look exactly the same? Hang on. That guy's got a different surname, but they all look the same. These guys dead set look exactly the same. I'm going to take a photo of it, and on request, I'll upload it, but I'm going to need like at least 2 people to respond as opposed to the usual 1. Oh my God. Going back to what I was saying, my mum. So when she's come, I've gone to pick her up from the airport when she got back. And that morning when she woke up, I remember going into her room and saying, hey, good morning. How do you feel? Have you recovered from the flight? Blah, blah, blah. And she's looked at me. She goes, I can hear the birds. Okay, what do you mean? She goes, for 3 months, all I heard was noise. All I heard was cars, people yelling, constant, just, chaos. She goes, I'm waking up and I can hear birds singing. Actually, that reminds me of one other guy I used to work with. This is going back, 20 years ago. It would have been 2005, 6, somewhere there. I was working in the events mob, and we're in a warehouse out in Mulgrave, walking around, and I was amped up. Something had happened. Something upset me. I can't remember what it was. I was just sort of rushing around, and this guy just looked at me. He's like, we're walking sort of out towards the back of the warehouse, towards outside. And he's like, mate, you got to calm down. He goes, you got to slow down. You got to stop and listen to the birds having sex in the trees. Anyway, so now I've got visitors coming down to the cemetery. They're going on one of the other plots. I'll probably wrap it up. But that's the one thing about Greece. There's always a murmur. There's a murmur in the background of just people being alive and doing shit, which is, we hear noise in Melbourne. We don't hear that murmur of activity. It's really cool. That's one thing I'll probably miss the most. That's why I love Athens. Anyway, so it was going to be sort of like a Good Friday appeal. I was going to try and get it done yesterday, but I ended up working during the morning and then running out of time. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the Good Friday appeal. So I don't know what Good Friday appeal is. Really, they just raise money for kids or cancer or something. I can't remember. But yeah, I was going to make this pod as a Good Friday appeal. I really appreciate the love that we've been shown over the last, couple of weeks while I've left the country. Nah, seriously. Podcast has grown in the last couple of months. It's been really cool to see a lot of people sort of get on board and embrace it. I said this in the last one. I didn't want to be doing this forever to an audience of 3 people. So in the spirit of Easter and resurrection, let's keep this thing from dying before I get totally burnt out. Don't worry about buying us a coffee. Just like, share, follow, subscribe, share it to one person you think might like this. Put it up as a story. You're always willing to share that stupid maths recap or some bullshit meme that makes no sense. Or, some photo of, one of the celebrities now. Who's that bird that sings that song, Espresso? I keep hearing it on all the Insta stories, and with some caption of boss bitch or some shit. I don't know. I'm not even talking about women that do. I'm talking about men. Oh, God. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. I'm going to bounce because these people are coming here. So, smoke crack.
Hold up.